I cried a lot in this movie. Oh my god, I was not ready. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was easily the movie that I was most excited for in the MCU, because the first two are some of my favorite movies in general. Also because the MCU has been kinda taking a nosedive recently. The last couple of outings for the MCU have been a range of mid to just plain bad. So I had very little faith in the MCU going forward, but if anyone could show that there's still a little gas left in the tank, it would be James Gunn. But even this movie's production wouldn't be a smooth ride. You see, for those of you living under a rock, James Gunn was fired by Disney for a while, and then the Guardians were utilized in 3 other movies without James Gunn being there to really oversee their stories. So while James Gunn had a plan years ago for the 3rd installment, it would be railroaded by some big changes like, oh, I don't know. But somehow, in spite of essentially having to start from scratch, James Gunn created a finale to his trilogy that, while not perfect, is a satisfying and fitting conclusion to the Guardians story. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 shifts most of the focus onto Rocket. Rocket has been fatally wounded, and they need to save him by digging into his past. So we get a ton of backstory and build up for Rocket in this movie. Star-Lord has to deal with Gamora being a completely different person than the woman that he used to love. Nebula is mad, Drax and Mantis are lovably dumb, and Groot is Groot. Rocket's story is easily the best part of the movie, and it's also the most engaging. Not that the other characters are sidelined, it's just the best part. The Guardians movies are known for being a bit funnier than the MCU, so how was the humor this time around? The humor in this movie, it worked for me. I found myself laughing a ton throughout the movie, but not every joke lands, which is fine because at least unlike other more recent MCU movies, this movie knows when the tone isn't supposed to be funny. It doesn't sacrifice any of the key character development moments for a quick and cheap laugh. And unlike a lot of the more recent MCU movies, it's actually funny. Like, it's not relying on goats screaming, you know? The new characters introduced in this movie were all great. Rocket's friends from his past were awesome to meet. The villain in this movie is the High Evolutionary, who's Rocket's creator. And he's just over the top evil, which is so much fun. I feel like we haven't had a villain in a while who's just plain classic one-dimensional evil. We don't need no sad backstory, we don't need to sympathize with him, just let him just be evil, and he did a great job. Chukwudi Iwuji, I hope I didn't mispronounce the name, he eats up every scene that he's in. You can just tell that he's having a blast playing this role. However, one of the surprise highlights for me is Adam Warlock, played by Will Poulter. He was teased at the end of the second film as the next big baddie, and he is super powerful, but also super dumb. To kind of balance him out, he has some of the best line deliveries in the whole movie. Honestly, he made me smile every time he was on the screen. Overall, all the actors did great, even the goofy cameos. The movie didn't have any weak roles here for me. However, I did have some issues with how some of the characters were written, particularly Drax. Dave Bautista is a phenomenal actor. We all know this, but I think somehow Drax has become dumber and dumber to the point where it's kind of obnoxious. What frustrates me the most is that his stupid antics drive the plot forward. There's a couple times where him being dumb is the only reason why a scene even happens, and it felt weirdly forced. Like it wasn't even comic relief anymore. It was the only way the plot would make sense. Don't push forward the plot at Drax's expense, okay? He wasn't this stupid before. He just didn't understand metaphors. There's a difference. Like, how did it get to this point? Also, some of the set pieces and areas we explore as well as the character designs are pretty grotesque. I didn't really mind it, but it gave me Cronenberg vibes that could be off-putting to some people. However, while this movie did stumble here and there, it made up for it in its heart. You just really feel like the Guardians of the Galaxy have become such a real family. They're just very tight-knit now. There's just a lot of moments where you just feel like this is a group of people that love each other, and you can feel every single emotion that they're feeling. There's points where even Nebula has a moment of just pure sadness that made me feel like, oh my god, this is so real. Like seriously, this movie's gonna put you in the feels. Lastly, there's the music. In the previous Guardians movies, it was such a pivotal element. Here, it was lacking a bit. There weren't really any memorable music scenes that happened in this movie. Not like the first movie with its opening title sequence, where Star-Lord dances to Come and Get Your Love, or the second movie with its final battle scene using The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. There just wasn't that feeling of, oh, I want to rewatch that scene for its music. The music was just kind of there, which was a little disappointing. Although the action in general was decent, especially some of the final action sequences which were done in one continuous shot. Anytime the whole group was together, you knew that the scene was going to be great. In the end, I found myself laughing and crying and ultimately just sad. These are my favorite MCU characters, and I knew that with most of the actors saying that they were done, that it would probably be the end of this era of the Guardians. I just didn't think it would affect me so hard. I really enjoyed this movie. And if you're a fan of the previous two, I think you'll enjoy this movie as well. And if you're not a fan of the previous two, it may not hit you as hard. I get it. It's okay. So yeah, Guardians 3 was good. Not as good as the first two, but I think I can easily say that this is the best MCU trilogy, and it's not even close. Sorry, Spider-Man. So I'll be giving Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 an 8 out of 10. But what did you think? Have you watched it? If so, what would you rate it? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you later.